Hey guys. All right. So I know you guys are busy. So busy. There is so much life to be busy about. You have your work, your play, even your social media feeds are busy, So I think, which is why it is so important to watch this clip, and I am going to play it right now.
Comes to burnout. One of the most dangerous things when it comes to burnout is you adapt to feeling like crap and you forget what normal feels like. You forget what good feels like.
Yeah, adapting to what normal feels like. The fact that you can even forget that you're actually suffering is such a horrible thing. And you have to use this kind of format of your emotional stamina to keep going, which is kind of like a really horrible situation to be in. So we're going to talk about burnout, but let's look into what burnout is. I'm going to pull it up on my search engine of choice. Right now it's ChatGPT. And we're going to say what burnout is. So burnout is defined as the state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by prolonged stress, usually from giving more energy than you're getting back. So it says nothing about my professional life makes me stressed out, so that's why I'm burnt out. Being burnt out could be anything. It could be emotional. It's not just the idea of your 50-year-old dad that works in corporate America that's wearing like a tight collar and his face is red and he has hypertension. It could also be your 6-year-old daughter who is basically feeling like before she could be the president of the United States. And then all of a sudden something happened where it has shifted. And now she actually has to work harder to be somebody that is not true to herself. So we're going to have that discussion today, emotional burnout. So welcome to the show, guys. This is Alia & Co., and I'm your host, Alia Kizilbash. We talk about complex things, and we break them down, and we simplify them. And we have an amazing guest with us today, Emily Smith, and I would love for you to introduce yourself.
Thank you for that. I'm so excited to be here. We've been talking about this for a while. So
Yes,
yes,
for a while, yes. But I'm this is just the perfect timing. And I'm so excited to hear about all of the things that you have to say.
Completely.
Yes.
Yeah. So for like a little background, Emily Smith, I am so much more than my title, but I am Executive Vice President at Bespoke Commercial Real Estate. I have been dubbed a rare magical unicorn in a sea of men. That is my nickname around the office and in the industry. And I'm also, because I'm in a sea of men, I am the founder of Female Strong. Which is a 501c3 organization that I founded. We're celebrating our 10-year anniversary. So
Yay!
which is huge. And I've done everything wrong. If you want to ask me, what to do wrong and what to do right, I can tell you because I've tried it all the last 10 years with that journey. But we'll get into all of that.
Oh, 100%. And that's the thing is though, Female Strong and just even the phenomenon of a 6-year-old child, a girl. I mean, like I would love to hear your thoughts on that as we kind of like, set the kind of tone for the conversation because it's so important. I mean, tell us about like your thoughts on that and how kind of like you see that in terms of Female Strong and how that can support kind of like this idea of growth and having our children not be burned out in this kind of society.
Completely. And I think, I think the overall theme of this, and I don't mean to oversimplify, right? Because burnout is real. I loved this topic so much when you sent this to me because it is every single conversation I'm having today with every single like person I connect with, whether it's coffee, lunch, executive women, moms, everything. Everybody is feeling it. And I think we live in a society today, both, adult women and also 6-year-olds where we've never had more information coming at us.
Right.
And we have to actively choose what we pay attention to. So I think the burnout piece on the 6-year-old topic is just, for me, when I read the stats on, at age 6, girls stop believing they can be president, that broke my heart. I thought that was an epidemic and we've got to solve that, right? The whole confidence gap that happens between age 6 and age 19. The fact that age 19, less than 30% of girls believe they'll be as successful as boys in their chosen career path, it's a crisis. And that's why I jumped in 10 years ago, right? And started Female Strong because I'm the type of person, I don't want to just talk about the issues. We all know about the issues, right? But it's what are you going to do to move the needle and how are you going to solve them. And it's not just me personally, it's the collective that is doing that. So, and that's kind of what we built at Female Strong, but it's through my whole background with Bespoke and commercial real estate and all of that. That's really why I started that.
Yeah. So commercial real estate in itself, very male heavy. Definitely for a woman coming into that space, and me trying to kind of put the pieces together, because I know that you did it because this on Female Strong, you started it because of this experience that you had in your journey throughout that. What was like that moment of like, okay, that inflection point of like, I need to do something about this?
Well, I mean, for me personally, right? I come from a very humble background. My dad's a farmer, right? I come from a small community, 2,500 people, right? I love my hometown. I knew how to work hard when I got here, right? What I wasn't prepared for was being the only female in the room at all times. And that, I knew I was going to be successful. I knew how to work hard, et cetera, but I wasn't prepared for that. And that's what started the curiosity. I'm like, why is that, right? Why is that? Why am I the only female in the room at all times? And that's when I started learning about the confidence statistics for girls. And, I think that in my industry, it's changed a lot over the last 30, 40 years. Previously there was a couple women, there was only room for a couple women at the top. Thankfully it's no longer like that. I think a lot of us out there are changing that course. But at that time, I was getting a lot of really bad advice. And one in particular, I reached out to one of the, females that was like the only person that, I could see that looked like me, right? No one else in the rooms looked like me, talked like me. I was very different. I reached out to them and just asked, hey, if I take you to lunch, can you give me some mentoring and some shepherding and tell me how to survive this thing? And they declined because they said, I was competition. And if you wanted to work for me, they'll teach me everything that they knew. So that really showed me what I was up against and that I was in this alone, and it's okay. I was going to be just fine, but it made me have to make different decisions and making me decide in that moment that if I was successful at this, I was going to make sure no one had that same experience that was coming after me.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and that's the thing, is that's a differentiating factor between you and your mindset, versus somebody who is not offering that help and does not want to give back. Yeah. And there's this essence of cattiness amongst women, right? Where it's the mean girls. I mean, we've seen the movie, either you join them or you're on the other side, totally. and it becomes like kind of like this space where I see a lot of women that are successful in their fields and they really needed to suffer. So in some ways they think, hey, just because I suffered, maybe now you need to do it too if you want to get to
easy for you.
Exactly. Which where is that with like where is your mind at with that? Because it takes a different kind of person. Like how can you rationalize both kinds of, because I'm sure she came from a place of, okay, I worked hard and I've paid my dues. So maybe that was her mindset. But why do you think that there are these different kinds of perceptions when it comes to something like that?
I mean, I think what they felt is real. I don't want to take that away from them, or I don't want to shame them, right? I think at the time, it was a different time. It was a different era. And the things that they survived are probably the things I'm not, I didn't have to go through, right? But I've never had that mindset, right? And I've always lived in that abundant mind space. I've learned through coaching and a lot of other things with some amazing people that I surround myself with, how to really hone in on that. And I don't have that scarcity mindset, right? So I don't look at people as competitors, in my field, right? Especially females. Yeah. I'm the biggest cheerleader of other female brokers out there. And look, if they're not my client and I know information, I'll share it with my direct competitors and say, hey, you should call this person. You should go after them, because them succeeding and young girls seeing them succeed is a win for everybody, right? I fully don't believe that, your success diminishes me. And I think it's a mindset shift. And I think if more people had that, it would shift the culture of what we're dealing with today. Yeah.
And I certainly there's so much of the pie to go around, right?
Completely.
But other times, I think that sometimes when someone sees someone else winning, specifically as a woman, perhaps maybe they kind of inherently feel like, oh, why do I feel this like kind of tinge of jealousy? Maybe they're not where they want to be in life, and I think it has to do a lot with programming in general, maybe the way that you grow up, and especially when it comes to an abundance mindset. Not everybody is born with an abundance mindset. Some people come from a place of lack and they continue to think that way because that's just the way that they know. Like, I mean, just the example of when you have suppressed yourself and you went so hard for so long, you have now forgotten how to have fun. And you think that pain that you're in is just like normal, Do you think that now specifically with Female Strong, and just that idea of you having the experience that you've had in commercial real estate, you see that amongst certain people that are coming in, like children that are coming, I mean, not specifically, we don't have to talk about, but maybe these are mindsets that a lot of people have, like these limiting beliefs.
I think that that's a lot of the programming that we teach at Female Strong.
Okay.
Is how not to have that. And nothing makes me more proud. Like we have at Female Strong, we do this Shark Tank panel where these girls go through an entrepreneurship program for 29 weeks. And then they come and pitch their big business idea in front of, 12 CEOs, right? For real money. I mean, they've got real money on the line. It's like high stakes, right? And one of the girls this past year, she was autistic and she got really worked up during her pitch, right? We've got 150 people in the room. I mean, it's high stakes for these girls. At least they feel it is high stakes, right? And what gave me hope is that she turned to the remaining A class and they all started cheering her on, right? And that to me says we're doing the right thing. Our programs are working, right? Where it's, they're competing directly with her for dollars, like real dollars, but they want to help her get through her pitch and make it better, right? So, to me, I think that is why amazing programs like Female Strong exist and various other programs that help reprogram that. It's a reprogramming, I think, especially at a young age, because if you can get to them at age 6 before the entire world tells them who they need to be, it allows them time to figure out, who do they want to be?
Right. Yeah. So. And the intensity of it seems like for young children to have to pitch like Shark Tank style, it seems like, oh my gosh, and in front of that many people.
I don't think I could have done it.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's at that age, at 6.
But these girls are 12.
Oh, okay. But still 12.
Yeah. So at 12 years old, I look back, I mean, these girls have put together a business plan. They are, it's wild. I don't think I could have done that. Where I came from, we didn't even have Girl Scouts. I mean, we had nothing. Like it was,
Yeah. And that's the shift, I think, also in our society, because we have so much access to information, almost to a capacity of like, oh my God, saturation point. I'm getting so much information. I don't even remember the last 3 videos that I watched because it's kind of,
overload.
Yeah. So, but I would say that our society now, yes, there's the access to information, the ability to also work on yourself. I mean, ideas like manifestation and visualization and all of that. I didn't even know those were things. And now you see that there is so much information that is at your fingertips.
Completely.
I mean, it's wonderful. But
how lucky are we?
We are so lucky. Right. But then also those girls that are coming into these spaces and have that kind of access. And if there's some guidance there to be able to say, hey, this is how you put in the work. This is how you're going to execute on something. I would say that for me as an entrepreneur, when I see somebody that is going through something similar or went through something similar, I'm like, you did the work.
Yeah.
I have nothing but respect for you because you are hustling, you're working hard. And I think that for me, I mean, many years ago, I was a stay-at-home mom, and I never worked. I was just, my job was my children. Yeah,
completely, and it's a very valid job.
Oh, 100%,
and important and critical.
It is so important, but it doesn't kind of just because somebody's in the ER with a heart attack does not mean somebody's shattered knee is also, any less. I feel like sometimes we think that as stay-at-home moms, that we're not kind of pulling our weight, and in some ways, then there is that aspect of kind of insecurity where, on social media, there's so much of it, this person's doing this and they, won that, or they, they're achieving. I think that when you haven't put in the work in some ways, although it's possible, I think perhaps maybe just kind of recalibrating and creating kind of a level playing field and kind of allowing for people to know that they can do it too. So I would love to know more about your experience in commercial real estate, not having a mentor, which, how did you find your way?
Yeah.
Because I would like to know that.
Yeah.
I feel like that's such a big thing for, just the tangible advice of, look, this is what you do. We need some tools. This is what you do. And how did you develop the curriculum for Female Strong? Was it kind of like a case by case sort of thing, or tell me more about that?
Yeah. I think just we'll tackle the, commercial real estate piece, right? And how I got where I'm at today, right?
And why did you choose commercial real estate to begin?
Well, I didn't dream of having,
right?
Very flashy industry. So much ego, right? But I didn't dream of that. Actually, I wanted to do environmental design. That's what I went to school for. And then I did that out of college for 12 months. And I was like in a back room doing CAD drawing, like in a closet, basically. And I hated it. And I think, oh God, I planned my whole life around this. I was obsessed with this. It's all I wanted to do. And then what do you do when you decide you hated it? So, I was like looking at other careers, looking at what to do. And my male partners now, I knew them at the time, right? And they had an opening at their company where they said, hey, so-and-so's out. Do you want to come just sit at the front desk? I was like, sure, right? As I go through this journey to figure out what I wanted to do. And I sat at that front desk for 3 months while someone was on maternity leave. And they're like, just listening to what's going on in the office. And they're like, you do really great at commercial real estate, right? Maybe you should get your license. And I think
and these are men that are saying this to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And exactly. Right. Yeah. So I was like, okay. I didn't even know what the word leverage meant. I didn't go to business school. Right. I was not high finance. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So I, did it and got my real estate license. And I think it was the best advice someone could have ever given me. Right. Because it is such an amazing, rewarding career. For me personally, through all the hardships, I wouldn't change a thing. Right. Could I have taken an easier path? Absolutely. But for me personally, how I, again, going through the challenges of being the only female in the room at all times, right? My way to overcome what is, I guess people call so-called imposter syndrome, right? Was I decided that I was going to be the best, right? And I'm very competitive. Like I don't see people as competition, but I really am competitive with myself and I want to be the best version of myself. Yeah. So my biggest thing then was to really just head down, ask questions. And while the guys were out golfing, I knew I was never going to get involved, invited on these guys' golf trips, whatever, right?
Yeah. In the same way, right? In the same camaraderie. It's like one thing you can get on the trip. Yeah, but you got to.
On the course, but you can't get on the trips.
Right. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Of that, right? Like I can get on the course to go play golf for 4 hours, right. But I wasn't going to get on the, the 3-day guys' golf trips where the deals are happening, right? So, or the ski trips, whatever they may be. So as a young broker, I decided I never wanted to be in a room where someone asked me a question and I didn't know the answer. So I was head down. I was going to learn it all. And I just dug in. And I think you can do that for a period of time. I mean, hyper focused, hyper obsessive with learning as much as possible, right? Diving in. I wanted to know all the buildings. I wanted to know the rates that were happening. I wanted to know all the deals happening in the market. I wanted to talk to everybody, learn everything, and just really, to your point, do the work. And I did that for a long time. And then you get to this point where that becomes unsustainable, right? Because that's when burnout starts to happen, right? When you become so obsessive that I think people become obsessive with the feeling of being busy. Everybody's busy. And I think people get a dopamine hit after dinner when they pop open their laptop because they're so busy and they need to work. Right?
Yeah.
And I think you have to really acknowledge that and ask yourself if that is healthy. And part of that came from, me during COVID. Like when COVID started, the real estate market got annihilated, right? Like in 2020, I was not at home baking sourdough bread, right? I wish I was. I was like even more obsessive, hyper-focused at work because my clients needed help, right? So I wanted to find the solution to help them. And it all comes from a great place. It comes from a place of wanting to show up for your clients the best way possible and help them, genuinely help them. That's what I'm obsessed with.
Right.
But it can also become so unhealthy when there is no answer to that, or a one size fits all, or you don't have you don't have the answers anymore because no one does. If LinkedIn and Google can't figure out their return to office, how are we supposed to, right? So, that's when I really went through this whole burnout phase of just feeling completely like I had nothing left to give in the tank, right? And how do you get out the other side?
What does that feel like?
Well, it just feels like you're a little dead inside,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, I deal with high pressure situations all the time. That is my world. And I think calm is a superpower. And I think I show up and play in that tension all the time. And I am calm because that's what my clients need from me. When the shit, sorry, is hitting the fan.
Yeah.
Like I am the calm of the storm. Like people have called me the, Pulp Fiction, the movie Pulp Fiction. I'm the wolf.
Yeah.
You need something cleaned up, you call me, right? So I clean up all the messes. Well, at some point in time, like it just, I went to the doctor because I was not feeling well, right? And it turns out I got what they believe was Hashimoto's at that time. And it came from such a stressful place that like my body, even though I felt I could deal with stress really well and I was the calm in the storm, my body was screaming at me. And so I kind of had to dive into that and be like, oof. So now I have different boundaries with stuff and had to really create that and say, when is enough for me? And, when is it, because it's always going to be, there's always more deals. There's always more things you can chase. There's always more stuff. But when is enough for me to find that, right? And come up with tactical things like, after dinner, I'm not going to get that dopamine hit because I'm so busy where I'm going to crack open my laptop. And because if my brain gets going on work, I can't stop. It's hard. It's hard for me to wind that down.
Yeah.
So I have a new rule. After 8:00, I don't do anything with work.
Yeah.
Unless it's a team member calling me.
Right.
Or unless like last Friday, I took a call at 10 p.m. because it was a deal I have active. That's it.
Yeah.
But I have a hard line with that and figuring out what is enough for you and what do you need?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's a difficult place to be in when you are getting to the point of realizing that you need this boundary and how to kind of do it, how to actually listen to that advice and kind of create that kind of actionable change.
Completely.
It's such a difficult place. So now.
Well, and part of that too, and I don't mean to jump around here, but part of that too is we work with a group called Lapin 180 and we started with them right after COVID, only like 2020, right? We started with them. We've been with them for 5 years now. They are like sales and executive coaches, right? And they really helped me significantly with, I've always had an abundant mindset, but a lack of scarcity, right? And I think if you can kind of focus on that, and I know we're going to talk about some of that stuff, I think that helps significantly.
Yeah.
And asking yourself, what's coming up for me? Is this scarcity that's happening? Is everything okay? And what if I showed up differently? I mean, that's changing your talk track and rewiring your brain is hard work.
Right. And most people don't even realize that that is something that needs to be done.
Yeah.
I mean, just my journey in itself is like, I used to think that whatever programming or that, voice that I was in my head that was like, no, you can't do it or whatever. I thought that was just my personality. But, a lot of it is controllable. You can talk to yourself differently.
Yeah, but that's your reality, right? When you're telling yourself that, like, this is hard. Well, your day's going to suck.
Yeah.
Because you're doing hard things, right? Changing the way how you talk to yourself. Everyone says all the time, like, you should listen to your gut. Our guts are wrong half the time. All the stuff going on up in your brain, it's not reality.
Yeah.
It's just your own personal voice that's buzzing around up there.
Exactly.
Right? And you have the ability to change that and how you talk to yourself, because that's going to be your reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what's scary.
No, 100%. And again, going back to doing hard things. I mean, putting in the hard work, right? That is kind of, you're putting in the hard work. You get to a place, you hit a kind of like a road bump, and you're like, all right, speed bump, and you're like, okay, now I need to change. Something different needs to happen. I want to take it back to your work ethic in commercial real estate. Definitely working hard, putting in the effort, being the sharpest person in the room, knowing all of the information. Hard work, I think specifically for women, can take you so far.
Totally.
When did you realize that you needed emotional intelligence also to be kind of like, hey, this is something's different here. Something's off.
Yeah. I mean, I knew that, I think, pretty early on in my career about the emotional intelligence piece, only because, I am surrounded by so many different big personalities, right? I think
Define a big personality.
Big personality, loudest in the room, always has the answers, right? one thing that, Lapin is, Pam Evans has helped me with this. You don't always have to be the one with all the answers.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's best not to, because sometimes it's best to let the client come to the solution and give a little silence and air and not jump to but big personalities are, loudest in the room, strongest in the room. And, sometimes they have a big presence. And I think a lot of people, especially younger people, they're sponges. And so, you have to be very careful
Mhm.
with, figuring out who you are versus absorbing all of that other big personalities in the room, right?
Mhm.
And mimicking, what they're doing, right? So the emotion and intelligence piece, I got a lot of really bad advice early on in the industry that, to be successful in this career, I was told you have to be a bitch to be successful, or people take you seriously. You're in like high stakes negotiations, right? The reality is like, I always felt like if you lead with love, you can still be a tenacious negotiator,
Mhm.
right? They're not mutually exclusive. So for me, emotional intelligence was always kind of my secret superpower. And the fact that I care,
Mhm.
I think that is also a superpower.
Right.
So I think they go hand in hand.
Right. I think a lot of women, they come into these spaces thinking that they have to highlight their masculinity, where it's like, I need to be nasty. I need to be the bitch. I need to be the loudest one in the room to feel like these guys will hear me,
And if that's authentic to them,
Mhm.
great.
Right.
Like
yeah.
if that's authentic, if that's truly who you are,
Mhm.
that's great.
Right.
You do you.
Right.
But that was never how I was.
Right.
And I felt like the success came for me when I started showing up as myself,
Mhm.
and I think the ability to read a room is important.
Mhm.
As long as, you don't take on that energy and change yourself and things you're saying because of it.
Mhm.
I think a lot of people, I think burnout comes from people just not showing up as their true authentic self.
Right.
I think it comes from them having, a lot of, the stuff that we talked about previously was, changing their tone in a room or, some of those pieces. I think that's where burnout comes from, showing up as someone that you're not truly authentic. And for me, showing up as who I am authentically all the time is, when, I really cured a lot of the burnout stuff, right?
Mhm.
I'm not worried about what I'm going to say when I walk in that room
Mhm.
because I'm not going to overthink it.
Right.
I'm not going to worry about how I'm perceived on the other side.
Mhm.
How people perceive me is not my problem,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
I can only just show up as my true authentic self every day. And as long as I'm doing that, I feel good about it.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of times that people think that even from a male perspective, being the loudest one, being the alpha, or what's the new one for what do they call it, being Sigma or something like that, where it's like, I don't need a pack.
Look, ask my nephew, my 10-year-old nephew, on what Sigma is. I try and be all Riz and stuff,
Right,
and
exactly.
I have no idea what that means.
You're cooked now. No, it's like, well, I don't even know what that.
I got the Riz.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
but that's the thing, is that a lot of times, anytime that, I mean, it is an ego.
Yeah,
And a lot of times, I remember I was on one of these kinds of emotional intelligence. What are they? They don't have the. It's not the Enneagram, or what's
Enneagram.
the ENTJ. Like they give you the what's that? Something that's like I forget the. It's
16 personalities.
something like that. Those personality
Yeah.
test type of things, and how to identify certain personalities and be able to conduct business in a certain way based off of that person's like designation,
Yep.
And I remember the guy who was leading kind of like the workshop asked everybody what an ego was, and everybody was a guy in the room. I was the only woman that was in the room, and everyone answered like an ego was a good thing. They're like, like they did not understand. They did not know the true definition of what an ego is.
Yeah.
And like, it's something, you have to be proud of yourself or whatever, or, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, no, an ego is you doing things in your brain is telling you to do one thing and you're going to do it wrong or whatever. You're putting it out there in a different way. It's actually not a positive thing. It's because in some ways you're going against the grain of your essence.
Well, we all have it, right?
Yeah.
We all have ego.
Right.
It's kind of like we all have light and dark. We all have, different sides of ourselves, right? But you got to challenge yourself. I'm like, what is coming up for me? Is this my ego talking? And if it is, okay, check myself.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
Or, it's funny. Ego's funny. It seems like kind of a buzzword right now. Right.
Mhm. Right.
That and like toxic. I hear those words a lot.
Yeah.
Right. I'm surprised that they got that wrong because it seems like everybody's talking.
Yeah. Well, or maybe they're not watching the same,
Yeah.
everyone is in their own algorithm. But the thing is, though, is that a lot of times like these large personalities come out and a lot of it is insecurity,
Yeah.
and I think that even with amongst males, who is the alpha? Who is the one that is going to show even amongst themselves, not just to a woman,
Yeah.
So I think that in some ways, the true essence of being content with yourself, being, confident in your own skills is super important. And so seeing that you've gotten to this point where it's like, you know what, I'm not going to try to be like you. I'm going to embrace my femininity. I am who I am. I'm not going to pretend to be you because that's not who I am. And that's not how I feel like I can effectively get business done. When you started Female Strong, how did you develop that curriculum? Like what were the components of something like that coming together? And how did you create this proven track of this is how you nurture yourself?
Yeah. Well, it kind of started small. At Bespoke, we only represent entrepreneurs. I really deeply care about entrepreneurship. Huge supporter of women entrepreneurs, right? And doing all things, helping get them funding, et cetera. So I'm very passionate about that. My father was an entrepreneur. My partners, all of their parents were entrepreneurs. And so it really started with this entrepreneur academy, that it was a program that was based out of Rochester, New York. And I learned about this program. And I said, I love this. I could see this as a way to give girls an ability to give them a platform, to come up with big ideas, encourage more females to become entrepreneurs, right? And get them exposure. So it started with this group of 25 girls, right? And we put on this program annually, very small, grassroots. And they all came to me and they said, this changed my life. What's next? And I thought, oh shit, I don't know.
What was it that changed? Like, I mean, what was it? What were you teaching?
These girls are just totally different, like completely different start to finish. Like when they start this program, what I noticed was it was a lot of girls, not necessarily the shyest girl or not necessarily the most confident, boisterous girls. There's a lot of girls in the middle that were trying to maybe not be noticed, or they were doing well, just trying to get, but they were different people start to finish. And I think it's because they did something big for themselves. They created this idea. They learned something new that they had no concept of. They got exposure to all these amazing female CEOs and mentors and all these things. And we really poured into them. And seeing them on pitch day and the ability to get through that pitch day, to pitch to CEOs and all the feedback that we poured into them. I mean, I think for them, the confidence level, we did all these studies and surveys, and 100% of girls were more confident leaving that program than they were when they first started. Maybe they had a little bit of spark or curiosity, right, about what this was, but they were completely different kids when they got through it. And we have girls that go through, that are coming from very, affluent neighborhoods in Chicago, and some coming from very different circumstances. And I think they come in with preconceived notions about one another. But then when they're in the room together, they realize they have more in common than they do difference. And they're going through some of the same challenges, right? So I think it just was a totally different experience for them from anything else than they were getting at their schools, or maybe, taking them out of the room with the boys gave them the ability to speak up more and find their voice, right? That's why we really started it with girls only, because we wanted to give them that safe space to, determine not necessarily only just about, what do I want to do when I grow up, but who do I want to be as a human, and have some of those conversations. So the what next came to me, and we decided to start these Female Strong camps, which are different segmented camps for middle school girls, because they kept asking, do you want any, do you have anything for my sister or whatever? So we wrote this curriculum with Dr. Jenny Gum and a few other partners, and Sarah Sleevey has weighed in on this program. She's amazing. She's a program director, and really created this curriculum that we're expanding nationally with, where, it's a corporation that they put on this program for one day, and we have vision boards from Paper Source that are donated, that they really get to find their voice, right? And it may or may not be the first time that they've really had to think deeply about that and do all these different exercises.
And about themselves.
Right? It's almost like, and I kind of want this for myself, a full day clarity break.
Yeah.
That's what it's like, right? Where you take all the noise out, you take the boys out, you take all the likes and the Instagram and all the stuff.
Yeah.
take it out, right? Take the phones out.
Mm-hmm.
And you're hyper focused on getting curious that day and thinking internally, right? And doing some inward thoughts. So that's what the camps are all about. And we've done, gosh, I think 20 something camps. We started with the 25 girls and we've now had over 3,000 girls go through our programs. And we're on track this year to serve, I think, 550 girls this year, which is just, I mean, it's so much bigger than me. And, you know, yes, I'm the founder and that's lovely, but it is really about the collective of all these amazing female CEOs coming together and putting this on.
I love it. And so I was looking into Female Strong before, and I was, you know, a lot of it is, you know, there are metrics where it's like, you know, we have these girls that come in and after that, like they are just move on to do these amazing things. And, you know, just even starting with that statistic of at the age of 6, girls start to kind of like lose that sense of confidence. And in my mind, I thought that perhaps the programming was more about deprogramming these limiting beliefs, but as I'm hearing it now,
some of it is,
and that I do want to delve into, which I think that a lot of women in general have a lot of those limiting beliefs. But the fact that you're giving them the ability to create when you are doing actionable things and being able to see that, hey, I am capable of doing that. That in itself builds confidence. So I think that that is an amazing thing that you guys are doing. In terms of, you know,
thank you for that.
Yeah, no, it really.
Thank you.
I was trying to figure it out. I'm like, what are they doing, and how?
What is your secret sauce? Right?
Yeah.
I think the deprogramming is a big part of it, right? It is giving these girls this safe space where it's not about optics or what do I look like that day or saying the right thing, right? Where it's they can get curious about stuff. It's about exposure, exposing them to things they've never been exposed before. Like we send girls to Ivy League summer camp. A couple girls get awarded these. It's an amazing program. And, you know, Ola is a perfect example of that, where we sent her to Stanford and she came back and she goes, that was incredible, but I know that's not an opportunity for me. And it's like, just hearing that breaks your heart, right? And with her, she had an amazing mentor, a dear friend of mine, Dare, she's like incredible. Kind of just talk through like, why do you think that, right? Why do you think that? And she just finished at Stanford on a full ride scholarship, right? So it's just, we've got 1,000 stories like that. But it is a deprogramming. I think that's a great way to put it, but it's also just getting them curious about things they would have. I didn't know growing up where I grew up what a commercial real estate broker did.
No idea. What's commercial?
Well, exactly.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it is. It is. And it's funny where we end up, right? Like it's the journey and it's the experience. And it's exactly what it seems that you're providing to these kids, you know, just being able to also, like you were mentioning, socioeconomically. I think that women have more in common across those different spaces, you know, than say, for example, the environments that they're in. So with these girls that maybe didn't have the confidence, I mean, I have daughters and there are times.
I was just going to ask. Yeah. I didn't know if you had girls or boys.
Yeah.
How many?
2 daughters. They're both in college.
Okay.
And so they've had experiences where they have been in all guy groups of something, you know, and always there's like, you know, they don't even want to listen to what I say, you know, and it's like I ended up doing all the work, you know, or they didn't even care or something like that. And in some ways it's good to have those experiences because you realize how to navigate them. But in spaces where a lot of women, even to, think about like how many women are funded, like VC funded. How much of that money goes to women? Not a whole lot.
Yeah.
Under 2%, maybe under 3%. Let's just be generous about it. Who knows? But the thing is, though, it's not a lot. And, you know, I'm wondering, so, you know, what is it then? So is it the fact that it's just, they're treating us this way and this is kind of the way that reality is, or we just need to kind of make ourselves more aware of who we are? You know, how are you teaching that to the girls? Like what is the tactic in terms of going and then jumping into reality and how to kind of maintain your boundaries?
That's a really tough and complex question. I would love to ask my friend Desiree about that because she would have a million stats right now on, you know, how to course correct that. And she's lovely and just like,
we had her on.
Amazing.
She had so many like really facts.
Because I think, you know, for me personally, and listen, I don't want to make like bold statements here because I don't want to, you know, what I say is not Bible, right? But for me, I think a lot of the challenges come down to people often mentor or invest in people that look like them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the challenge, right? And, that is what we're trying to encourage these conversations with, adults alike is I always challenge people, every panel I talk on, I said, try and mentor someone that doesn't look like you or is not the same gender as you. Like both, girls and boys deserve equal opportunities, right? And we certainly don't want to advance the girls so much that we leave the boys behind, right?
But we're kind of like still really behind. So I feel
100%. I totally agree. But I do think it's people gravitate towards people that look like them, whether it's, gender or race or any of that. So I often try to encourage people, look out for, and we also encourage the girls, right? That's why we bring in male mentors as well, right? Ask someone that doesn't look like you if they can help you. Because a lot of people are just waiting to be asked.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of the encouragement we do and bringing and exposing them to various, humans, right? Just so they can learn from someone that doesn't necessarily look like them.
Right. Oh, and I would say that some of my best mentors have been men.
Yeah.
Where, there are some people that are just I have learned so much from certain individuals. So it's not to say that all men are bad, like there are a lot of great, and I know that, yeah.
And I learned so much from people that don't think like me.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you were mentioning your team is amazing. Like, the environment that you have.
Oh, completely.
So it's like, we're not saying they're all bad. So
no, they're not. Like, they're my biggest champion. Like, my guys are awesome. Like, we're all human. We all have flaws. We all have, a growth mindset. We all want to do better and show up well. But like, I went on WGN the other day, I was telling this story and I don't tell people about that stuff because I don't, I don't need to stroke my ego, right?
That's amazing.
You know what I'm saying?
Let's stroke it. No,
but
seriously.
I also get pulled by like this I have to promote the organization, right? So I do these things from time to time.
Yeah.
And I was on WGN and I posted right before I went on because I didn't want to make a big deal about it, whatever. And I just posted, I was like, hey, I'm going to be on, just tune in. And I come out of that interview and my team sent me a photo, someone from my team. All of the guys had stopped what they were doing at 10 a.m. that day. And they were all huddled around the TV watching me.
I love it.
Right. And it's like, I started like tearing up and I'm like, I don't even know why, but it's just, that's just who they are. Right. They're my biggest cheerleaders and I'm theirs. Right. I'm a fiercely loyal person.
Oh, yeah.
And I will, any one of them, someone challenges them, I will come out swinging.
Yeah, no.
That's the environment and the culture that we've created where, Pete likes to say we're not a family, we're not, right? But we are a team and we have each other's backs.
Yeah.
So.
And there's a very human aspect to it. They have mothers and sisters and daughters and we have brothers and dads. And, it's like it becomes kind of, you see the person for who they are. And if you can all get together and push yourselves forward. Exactly. Yeah. Flaws and all, because we're human and that's what human is to have experience. The flaws. Yeah. Totally. But in general, though, I think that just the way our society is headed, the gap between technology and just, individuals that perhaps maybe are just new at using it or just don't understand a whole lot. In the past few years, we've had so much of that really integrated into our lives. And it's like women are now buying homes faster than men are, men are living with their parents for way longer, and in some ways, like, women are graduating college and, yes, maybe he's entrepreneurial. That's why he's not going to college. But what if he doesn't succeed? Then what? So, in some ways, like, there is all of this, like, where it's the disproportionate salaries and the way that we're treated and, where it's more difficult for us to get funding and all of these different kind of metrics that are out there. Where do you see us headed?
I think if we can, female strong in the next 8 years, I want to reach over 1 million girls, right? I think the pay discrepancy, I think there's a lot of confusion on that where I think people believe that it starts in childbearing years and it doesn't. It starts the moment those, the females get out into the workforce, right? Like there's all these studies about, a dental student, right? The guy goes and takes a $3 million loan to open his own practice. And then the female graduates from dental school and she's like, ooh, I'm not ready for that yet. I need to, go shadow someone and fold in with someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the risk tolerance, right? And I'm not making broad statements, right? But
that's a lot of fact to that.
There's a lot of data behind that stuff, right? So that is the whole premise behind Female Strong. Because what we're trying to do is create confident females so that when they do get to that point, when they're entering the workforce post-college or whatever they're willing to do, grade school, whatever that may be, that they feel confident enough to do whatever they're capable of.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to create. And I think that if we can do that right and get that piece right, whether it's Female Strong or other programs, I think that'll help ease a lot of the pay discrepancies that we see today. I think a lot of it surrounds confidence.
Yeah. And like you said, having the growth mindset. I mean, so I know that you are watching a lot of fun stuff and reading a lot of really cool things. Like we talked about Wayne Dyer and, all of these, of course, Mel Robbins is out there and there are so many really amazing people that are having these conversations. And I think it's almost kind of there's an insatiability because the more you learn about it, the more you want to know about it. So
totally.
Where do you think was your turning point of when you started to realize, wait a minute, let's change this. Something is different and we need to make some changes.
Yeah. It's funny. It sounds so silly, but there's this book that I read, it was called Life is Magic. And it seems so silly. I don't even know why I read it. I read a lot of very random things because I'm a curious person, but it's a book about a football player. I'm not into football, right? I can't tell you what the Bears scored, although I hear about it all day in the office on Monday, but whatever. Bears are great. Sorry. I love the Bears. You know what I say, go Bears. But it's about a football player, but it's about this guy, Joe. I can't even get his name right. I didn't even know what a long snapper was till I read this book. I'll just put it that way.
I still don't know what one.
This guy, I read this several years ago. Let me back that up. So I read this book several years ago and maybe 19, I don't know. But this guy had more tragedy before the age of 12 than most of us will see in our entire lifetime, right? Very tragic circumstances. His father killed his mother. It's very awful. And I don't want to spoil it for anybody. You can read the book, right? But what really struck me about that book is the whole, you can rewire your brain and your thoughts create your reality, right? And I'm so into that topic right now because our reality is what we say it is, right? And so if you talk to yourself in a negative way, that's how you're going to show up that day, right? If you think the world's bad and you're watching CNN or Fox News all day, of course you're going to think the world is falling, right? So whatever you consume on a daily basis is your reality. I fully believe you are the sum of the 5 people that you surround yourself with the most. But I've always had this relationship with time is fleeting. And, there's a whole story that, for privacy reasons, I'm not going to go into it. But at age 28, my boyfriend at the time, he got diagnosed with cancer. And I think when you're in a room with someone at the age of 28 and there's a doctor there saying you have a 50% chance of living, I think that wakes you up at a very young age. So for me, the biggest thing that came out of that is it changed my entire where I wanted to focus my time and what I wanted to do. So for me, that really was a very pivotal moment that changed it. But I will highly recommend the Life is Magic book because it's, this guy created his own circumstance, went for this. He could have went down this awful trajectory, but this guy told himself, I'm going to do this. And he convinced himself he was going to do it. He becomes this long snapper with the Buffalo Bills and then becomes this magician. I mean, I know nothing about football or magic, but it was a really great read. And I think there's so much of that out there. And now we're in this time where there's so much data on the neuroscience and all of that, people can get into. But I fully believe that. And I think your day is going to end up whatever way you tell yourself it's going to.
Yeah.
And your relationship with gratitude is a huge piece.
I think the starting point, right, is I think that for most people, the mind is such an intimidating place. How to control your thoughts, right?
Yes.
So if you've never tried to control your thoughts, it just seems like such kind of an impossibility.
Yeah, completely.
What's your first step? What would you say?
On controlling your thoughts?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's just simple like Mel Robbins, who I love. I love that you referenced.
Of course.
Mel. She's great.
Yeah.
She even was saying, I don't know if you've dug into her story, but she was went through severely depressed time in her life, where they were like in massive financial debt and all these things. She has really great stories about all that, so people can dive into that. But she used to use this topic of, okay, it's like a rocket ship, 4, 5, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to get out of bed.
Yeah, that's the way.
Get moving. I'm going to do something. And I think if people can move their body every morning, if they can get up, get out of bed, not focus on all the problems, but take action, I think that's the biggest thing. And she even has this one where she's like, high five yourself in the morning. Like, look at yourself in the morning. And like, I know it sounds cheesy. We're not talking about like, remember that Saturday Night Live skit where the guy's like, I'm special. And people like, that's
the way you should be talking to yourself.
I know, I'm not talking about that, but I just, I think people can take baby steps like that. And just, my husband is a startup. He's 2 years in, and he is working. He is in the grind, right? And, I just have to remind him sometimes, like, what you're thinking, like, is this reality or is this something you've told yourself, right? So sometimes you surround yourself with people that remind you, like, what you're thinking is not reality. And going into this, I think a lot of the things that have saved me is just, I don't go into that scarcity mentality. I don't think any conversation's high stakes anymore. And if you're not putting that pressure on yourself that, oh, I have to make this deal, or I have to do this, or I have to do this. If you fully, truly believe that nothing is high stakes, then that helps take that pressure off as well.
Interesting is also the attachment to the outcome.
Yes.
And because I feel like, and I'm trying to kind of also, and I would say that, like, specifically, let's just start with the 5-second rule. Like, that was the book that basically transitioned. That was a book that transitioned me from stay-at-home mom to stand-up comedian to starting my company.
I love that.
And you're right, though, it was the small things. It was, okay, I'm driving by that mailbox right now. I should mail the letter. And then I'm like, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then I'm like, okay, that
it's so
time.
true.
Because it's like sometimes you get lazy, but it's a beautiful way to do it.
I also think that causes significant burnout. If you delay the things that build up in your brain, like, how many times have you been like, I need to respond to that text, and you don't do it immediately? And then it's in your brain 7 times that day.
Yeah.
All those, like, that energy, that wasted energy of things. I don't let anything sit like that. I need to do something. And I've committed. I mean, that's like years upon years I've done that. I'm going to do it right then and get it over with, because that's just mindless brain garbage. It's a distraction. Right?
And sometimes to do the task is much easier than to sit around in that energetic kind of like sucking of energy. Right.
I totally agree with that. I think that's what causes a lot of the burnout is when you have those built up thoughts of, I need to do that. Don't do it. Just do it immediately. And get it over with.
100%.
Move on.
Oh, 100%. So I would say to anyone listening, if you want to get started on something, it is the baby steps.
It is. It's the small things that become the big things.
Right. Exactly. Just and then also, I mean, going back to Female Strong, a ceiling. When you think you have a ceiling, you have a ceiling.
You have a ceiling.
And I think that a lot of times, maybe just societally, maybe within your family, I came from a very, very conservative, family that basically, no, girls can't do this, girls can't do that, or, and that's just the way it was. And I think that in some ways we're all victims of victims, right? People, we're all just learning. We're all just there. So it's like
as are our parents.
Yeah, and they are. And it's their first time doing parenting and doing all the things that, So
most of them did the best they could.
They do, exactly. And I think that with our level of understanding and the knowledge that we have at our fingertips now, we're able to understand ourselves in a more kind of foundational way, which is where even when it comes to thinking, and like knowing the ceiling of, and then also thinking of outcomes. I think, so that's a really interesting point too. So number 1, do small actionable things. 2 is, whatever you choose to believe in, why would you choose to think about negative things all day if you didn't need to, right? Like, why don't you think that everything is, and Neville Goddard is really, I don't know if you've kind of read, he does a really great job at conditioning also, where he says 3 days, and you need to believe that you are in that feeling of you have XYZ. And after a while, if you can continue to do that for 3 days, it does. So it's like the little baby steps.
It is the babies. It's the small things that add up to the big things, right?
Yeah.
Or what you do when no one's watching.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
It's because if you cheat, like, you're just cheating yourself, right?
Yeah.
You're just going to be on that hamster wheel and not do the hard things. It's hard.
Yeah. And so for you, like, is that something, and we were just talking about it, like yes, it's not like, oh, I've done it one time and now I'm going to continue. It's a process, right?
It's not a linear process.
Mhm.
Yeah. Like, I mean, you don't just get to this big mountain and you're at the top of the mountain, you're at the top of your game,
Mhm.
right? It becomes easier
Mhm.
when you have these tools. I feel like it's like a tool, like in a toolbox, right?
Mhm.
You've got all these things, or like a stack,
Mhm.
things you can pull from when you need it,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
You know you rebound so much faster from stuff when, things happen, right? Or something comes up, right? You're like, ooh, I've been here. I know how to navigate this. Okay, good. And then it helps you calm it down, put it to the side, compartmentalize, and move forward
Yeah.
instead of getting stuck.
Instead of getting stuck.
Yeah.
So now for anyone out there who is stuck, and maybe they're realizing that I need to put this effort in, and this is the first step to me getting kind of like that, having that control of my mind. Where do you go to when days are specifically hard for you? Like, because nobody's going to not have a hard day ever again, right? What does it look like for you to kind of come back and rejuvenate yourself that way?
For me, like, I know going to the basics of what works is really important. Like, for me, I've honed in on my process with, especially with a lot of my coaches and stuff, that, I have a bad day.
Mhm.
Nothing really changes for me.
Mhm.
It was just a bad day.
Mhm.
So the next day I wake up, I go to the gym, I get my movement in, I go to the office, and I'm there,
Mhm.
right? And it's yesterday was yesterday.
Mhm.
Move forward. So for me, like, it's all about moving forward and not changing anything. I'm not doing anything dramatically different because consistency is key for me.
So mentally different, like in terms of like
Yeah.
your thought processes.
What am I doing when those things happen? I try to take clarity breaks if something is really like just getting to me.
Mhm.
I think a lot of us don't take the time to pause and really get through it. There's also, like, mentally for me, like last night I was at acupuncture
Mhm.
with Sandra, and just going back to the toolbox and the stack of things I need to do just for a little bit of a reset, right?
Mm.
And I do a lot of breath work
Yeah.
and a lot of these things that some may say are woo, but for me, it works for me. And what works for me isn't going to necessarily work for someone else,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
But for me, just to change that, I've got to find a break in it.
Mhm.
And then once I can do that, I know I've been down that road enough. It's not going to dramatically shift my day or
Mhm.
change my day or impact me dramatically. So
Sounds like you like are always like kind of finding more knowledge to support yourself.
yeah, you build
Like,
upon it.
yeah, you're building.
It's like it's like I said, it's like a toolbox, and you
Mhm.
continue to put in new tools that you get curious about. And, before you know it, you've got all these things that you can pull from
Mhm.
when things get
Mhm.
hard, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And some of that just comes with age and time
Mhm.
and, have your people you go to. Like, I got my people.
Mhm.
Like my girlfriend, Florence Ann Romano, she's amazing. She wrote a book called Your Village.
Mhm.
And everybody in your life serves a very different purpose, right? They're not all going to be there. And I think if you just find your people that I'm going through this, I know who I'm going to call.
Mhm.
And they pick up the phone. Like me and my girlfriend, Kristen, have this. She has a bad day.
Mhm.
She calls. I always pick up because I know she's not calling just to chit.
Just to, yeah. Yeah.
She's busy. She's got kids. She's got a whole, she's, C-suite. She's busy. Right?
Yeah.
She calls. I'm the bat phone. I
Yeah.
always pick up.
The bat phone. I love
You
it.
gotta find like your people.
Mhm. Mhm.
And some people, maybe you don't have your people, but you got to find your tools and the things that you do. And you got to know, like, it's not life or death. You're going to get through it and it's going to be okay.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
also life gets better. I think that once you start to understand yourself, it's not like, okay, I'm grown, I have a job, this is what the trajectory of my life is going to look like. In some ways, I think that there is always more to learn about yourself,
Yeah.
which is hopeful, I would say.
I always know, like, I'm in a stage of like teetering on like, ooh, maybe I'm a little burnout, right? Or maybe I need to take like a break. I mean, I don't think self-care is like bubble baths and whatever, but
Mhm. Looks
it-
different for everybody.
it looks different for everybody,
Mhm.
right? But like whenever I'm driving to the office and someone cuts me off and I start like road raging, I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
check myself.
Right.
Something's coming up for me. Like I need to, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
They'll have those like signals or
Right.
triggers.
Yeah.
And
And
because usually I'm pretty, but like when the road rage hits, I'm like, okay, great.
something's happening. I'm my own best friend today, as
Yeah.
you should every day,
Yeah, like I don't have it all figured out.
Yeah.
Like we're all just trying to do the best we can.
Yeah.
At all times. And, for me, I know my signals, right?
Mhm.
When I need either, some time alone,
Mhm.
some quiet time, or maybe I just need to shut the TV off, put the phone down
Mhm.
and just chill for a bit.
Yeah.
Some Saturdays I'm at home,
Mhm.
not leading this glamorous life. I'm doing a puzzle
Yeah.
because it's good for like my mindset and my
Yeah.
mental health, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes silence is what's needed. It depends on who you are and your capacity and what you need.
Mhm. And you're helping these girls realize that in some way, because it's like just writing down, visualizing. It's like, what, because maybe they come from a household where it's like, oh, you do for everybody. You should
Yeah.
people please. You're not a good girl if you're XYZ, And the thing is that gives them an opportunity to think clearly, which, is a life skill to have. So,
Yeah.
Last question, just before we go, I want to kind of understand, and to help others also understand, what are the key takeaways in order to stay away from this emotional kind of giving up upon yourself? What would you say are things every woman should know, every girl should know, how to be truest to themselves, and to kind of, so that they don't end up burning out emotionally like a lot of us have,
Well, I think protecting your energy is a big one. I mean, I think that
what does that look like for to a 6-year-old? How would you say protecting your energy? What would that mean to them?
I think you have to be I think you have to ask yourself, how does it make you feel to be around certain individuals, right? Like, whether it's a group of girls or whatever, like, do you feel anxious? Do you feel drained? Are they doing things that don't really align with you? Are they gossipy? If they are, don't be afraid to speak up and say that, but just realizing how you feel when you're around certain people. And if you feel better when you're around them, or excited, or, happy, those are your people, right? Find your people. And if you feel worse when you're around them, or you don't necessarily align with how their actions, that's a signal that something's wrong, right? So that's a simple way to protect your energy. And then you make choices, because we all make choices every single day, and decide who you want to surround yourself with.
And I would say this is advice to these PTO moms as well. Because the same.
Yeah.
How does that person make you feel?
Completely.
Does that person make you feel happy? And are you choosing to go and hang out with people that they don't want you there anyway?
Completely. And it's just, I always feel like you're some of the 5 people you surround yourself with the most, right? And I've had times where I'm just, I'm a total empath. Are you an empath?
I would say yes.
Yeah, I could kind of.
It's a blessing and a curse.
It is a blessing and a curse.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think you have to be even more cognizant of who you surround yourself with, right? And it doesn't mean, like, if someone's draining you, or they're an energy vampire, whatever that may be. It doesn't mean that they're a bad person or there's something wrong with them. They could be just going through a phase of life, and you're going through a different phase. And that's okay, right? So maybe you limit the amount of time you surround yourself with them, and don't just, pick up the phone every time they call, or let them just dump on you,
Yeah.
Because you've also got to, protect yourself, and especially if you've got a lot going on.
Yeah.
Right? Or people pleasing.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So I think that's an easy one. What would you say?
About how to protect, I would say, actually, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
My motto is, there are 3 categories of people. There are the people that love you, that are unconditionally, that they're there for you, your family, it could be whoever, your friends, anybody, that has a positive kind of like outlook for you. Then there are people that hate you. They don't make any kind of effort to hide it at all. They're people that basically you just know, and they're that's how they feel about you.
Yeah, completely.
And then there are people in the middle that are ambivalent. And they say that those people, the ones where it's like, yeah, we're going to go to lunch, and then they never text you, or like, oh, I'm having this event in my house, they never invite you, or like after every interaction, you just kind of don't know how they feel about you. They say that toxic people are better for you than ambivalent people. So you're better off. That's who you annihilate first.
Yeah.
You get all of those. And for me, I live very true to that. It's like, if I don't know how you feel, I mean, if it's one thing a new person is, but like, if you see consistently, you have shown me that you make me feel a certain way, then bye,
Yeah.
you know, and I respect the people that have saved my energy. And if it's I mean, thankfully I don't have a lot of toxic people in my life, but like,
for sure.
but for anybody that is going to, outwardly say that they don't like me, then good. You're feeling true to yourself. Awesome. You know, save my time. And then of course I value the people that love me. So I think it's just like knowing. It's like a knowing where it's like, you know, being present and really understanding yourself. I would say that for me, that's been my motto. And I think it's, you know, I think for other people too, it's like we have to realize we don't need to hang out with everybody. We don't need to bring, exactly.
Who has the time?
Who has the time? Exactly.
I mean, in time, I just feel like people get anxious when they don't have a good relationship with time.
Right.
That's what causes a lot of burnout, causes a lot of, right?
Yeah.
So it's we all have choices and, you know.
But the sticky part comes when it might be a social responsibility or I have this professional obligation and, you know, maybe they're asking something of me that I can't give, you know, or something, you know, there's always kind of complicated situations, but
I've gotten really good at the no's.
Yeah.
I'm not like apologetically no. I'm just like, thank you, no, but here's what I can do instead. Right. Or whatever. You know, you know, I'm a big believer in no. Yeah. Only until like I can get on a level playing field where I feel like, you know, to me, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. Yes. Right? Yeah. So
I love that.
And that's okay. Yeah. It doesn't mean I don't want to see those people or, you know, I just, you know, my professional life and my personal life blend beautifully together in so many different realms. And I love that. But it also means I'm going to miss out on a lot. Yeah. And that's okay too. Yeah. I've given up FOMO. Oh yeah. I have the joy of missing out now and I'm good with that. Yeah. But that's a mindset shift. I didn't have that 10 years ago.
100%. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. Totally. A flex, you know, and so again, the mindset shift, like it needs to happen for you to want to make a change in your life. Yeah. If you're not there and this is something that you don't identify with, maybe all of it is just like, what are they talking about? Like, I know. Maybe you're not ready for this conversation. Well, completely. And hopefully we wish you well and I hope everybody was happy. But there does come a change where you're like, listen, something's got to shift. A lot of us go through it, you know, and when you put in the work, it is certainly beneficial, I would say. Yeah. If people have great tips too, I'd love to hear them. Just because, you know, I love, you know. Yes. In the comment section, guys. I'd love to hear what's for you. For sure. Yeah. Well, Emily, thank you so much for being here. It has been a joy. I have learned so much from you. And I am so impressed with all you're doing with these young girls that, you know, actually, I forgot to ask. I think maybe, you know, as you're doing something about like at least women who have not had that foundational sort of like support where the girls are having it. Like, I mean, is that something that you are also providing in terms of workshops or how can a woman find her own voice? Oh, well, I think a lot of that comes from, you know, I love storytelling, right? We learned so much from that. So next year for Female Strong, we're doing a lot more adult programming where there's, you know, the executive women's circle where we're coming together and, you know, it's just thought leadership. People are sharing thought leadership, learning from one another, safe space. So that safe space that the girls have, we're doing it for the adult women. Where, you know, you can consider them, all these women in the room, like your advisory board. Yeah. You're going and you're looking for funding, right? You are fundraising right now. Right. Yeah. So being in that room and being like, what did you do? Yeah. How can I learn from what you've done? Because you've been where I am currently, right? So we're creating a lot of those programs. We're doing this quarterly next year. So more to come on that. But anybody can reach out to me on LinkedIn. They can follow Female Strong on LinkedIn for those updates too. So yeah. That's amazing. I'm impressed. And you're onto something massive, which is I'm so excited for it. I'm impressed with you. I didn't know you were a stand-up comedian. That's amazing. Yeah, that was Mel Robbins. She did that. Oh, it's fun. Oh, but But thank you again for being here. And I can't wait I want to have you back on. I want to hear more about where we're headed with. This is such an amazing idea. And I just really look forward to the women, we need to know about this. We need to stick together and we need to understand. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Learn from one another. 100%. Yeah. Everybody has a really important story to tell. So it's just giving them that platform. So thank you for doing this and everything you do. Yeah. Thank you. All right. Amazing.